A very good Sunday evening to all our viewers. You're watching Primetime News coming to you live and direct from our studios here in Colombo. Bringing you the news this evening, I'm Mariam Ganavijaya. Before we head on to our stories in detail, here's a look at your headlines for tonight.
One-year anniversary of the 9th of July Aragalaya. University students stage protests. The government is scared that another Aragalaya might emerge. A statement from the former convener of the IUSF.
දැන් ආණ්ඩුවට සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙනවා එවැනි ජනතා අරගලයක් එයි කියන බියෙන් තමන්ගේ ඇඳුම් ටික තෙත් කරගෙන
Express Pearl case transferred to the Singapore International Commercial Court. Nara says plastic particles still present in sea water. Vijitha Herath steps down from the Parliamentary Select Committee appointed to investigate the reasons for Sri Lanka's bankruptcy. IGP CD Vikramaratne granted a 3-month extension. Sri Lanka crowned champions of the ICC World Cup Qualifier 2023. Today is a day that reminds us of one of the darkest days for the media in Sri Lanka. Exactly a year ago, on a day like today, many local and international media organizations, including News First, were reporting on the developments of the Aragalaya across various parts of the island. While a team from News First were reporting live on the Aragalaya in the evening, they were subject to a brutal assault. Our cameras caught the horrific footage of this assault, and the footage went on air live. When a group of fellow journalists who witnessed this assault live on the airwaves attempted to assist the injured journalist and take them to hospital, the same group had assaulted them as well. It's been a year since this brutal attack. A police complaint was filed on the 10th of July 2022. No action has been taken against the officers who were responsible for this brutal assault. What happened to the investigations into this brutal assault on journalists? The victims cannot even inquire and find out about the progress of the investigations. In addition, on the 2nd of August, the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka issued a statement and said that this attack on unarmed journalists was a gross violation of their fundamental rights. This was an attack against the media, the Fourth Estate. The World Broadcasting Unions, a coordinating body at the international broadcasting level, also issued a statement condemning this brutal assault on journalists. Where is justice for this attack on the media that reports information to the general public and assists them in making informed decisions? You can temporarily hide from the law, but you can never hide from the truth. The truth always comes out in the end, no matter how anyone tries to hide it.
Today is a day that reminds all of us of something very important. Today is a day that the people of Sri Lanka proved that the power of the people is greater than the people in power. The people of Sri Lanka also proved that political change can be brought about by way of peaceful protest. Exactly a year ago, the people of Sri Lanka exercised their right to peaceful protest and stood up against an all-powerful president who had unlimited powers conferred on him through the 20th Amendment to the Constitution, giving him even more power than presidents that held office under the 1978 Constitution of J.R. Jayawardeneh. What made this precedent even stronger is the fact that he had the support of a staggering 2/3 of Parliament as well. Many events were organized across the country today to commemorate this peaceful struggle of the people that brought about unprecedented change in Sri Lanka's political landscape.
A protest organised by the Inter-University Students' Federation with the participation of the students of the University of Sri Jayawardenepura was held in Maharagama this afternoon. Students from the University of Sri Jayawardenepura also participated in this protest.
Ranil Wickremesinghe, the leader who has no mandate of the people, has claimed that he can provide solutions to save the country's economy. However, he has not solved anything yet. Different sectors of this country face different challenges. The education sector faces a whole set of problems, while the health sector faces another set of problems. The crisis we are facing has been further aggravated by the IMF agreement brought by the Ranil Rajapaksa junta.
Meanwhile, a protest organised by the Sabaragamu University Students' Union was held at the Pambahina intersection.
University students are studying in the midst of many academic and financial problems. Currently, a situation has arisen where the Mahapala scholarship is inadequate at the time where there are issues in regard to the dormitories throughout the entire university system. When students are raising these issues and taking to the streets to inform the people about the adversities, our rulers deploy the police and the riot squads to suppress us.
The protest march organised by the Rajarata University Students' Union was held today in Anuradhapura to commemorate the 9th of July Aragalaya. The protesters marched to the new bus stand in Anuradhapura and demonstrated there.
With cuts to the education, health and welfare sectors through the IMF deal and debt restructuring, the working class of the country are experiencing immense economic difficulties. Due to that, the people of this country are starving and have fallen into poverty.
Meanwhile, the protest organised by the Students' Union of the Open University was held this afternoon. The protest was staged opposite the Open University in Navala. The protesters began the protest on foot, starting from DM Kolambage Mawatha, and marched in front of the main gate of the Open University. The protest was organised to commemorate the 9th July Aragale and over several other demands.
There is a crisis within the universities. Our leaders have been imprisoned for 6 months, and Ranil thinks that he is a big shot after bringing in all the IMF conditions. What he has done by bringing in the IMF is getting a loan and bragging about it. We as the Open University Students' Union would like to inform Ranil Wickremesinghe that if we can drive away Gotabaya Rajapaksa, we can drive away you as well. A program to distribute leaflets under the theme A People's Council for a People's Power was carried out opposite the Fort Railway Station on Sunday. The leaflets were distributed by the Movement for a People's Council.
In fear of a new people's struggle, the government is now blaming the Aragalaya and introducing new laws to prevent the people from coming to the streets. The people's struggle was successful because it brought fear to the government, to the extent that they would deploy the military to crush down any protest where people are holding black flags. But we must acknowledge that the people's struggle was not fully successful. We were unable to win over some rights. Those are challenges that remain to be overcome. The solution to this crisis lies in the people's power and through people organizing themselves. Many asked us, what is the next step of the Aragalaya? It is removing the Ranil Rajapaksa regime. That is certain. Based on the Gallface publication, the Movement for People's Council proposes to formulate a People's Council. Achieving the system change through the formation of the People's Council is the next step of the Aragalaya. We can see the police playing games in Colombo. I believe the Ranil Rajapaksa government, the military and the police is a junta. They are under the impression that what happened on the 9th last year can be done today. If there is a struggle, the people will decide that. Therefore, our agenda is different. The Ranil Rajapaksa junta must know that. The next step of this is the removal of your government. You will be able to see that. That is why we are getting organized. The dreams of the youth are fading away. The entire population is living in a crisis. People must know that the solutions to this crisis has not yet been given. Ranil Rajapaksa is fulfilling the conditions of the IMF. They are deceiving the people and selling national assets. Ranil Wickremesinghe is dragging the country down by selling everything. The people must know that if they wait for another leader to provide solutions to this issue, that won't work. We must organize ourselves.
The Citizen Struggle Aragalaya movement made the following remarks during a media briefing commemorating the first year anniversary of the 9th of July Aragalaya. It has been a year since a ruler who was elected by 6.9 million voters and then acted against the mandate of the people, acted like Hitler, and even said that the words he says are circulars was driven out of office. The current president should also understand this. The president who was elected by 6.9 million votes had to go home like that. When President Wickremesinghe paved the way for the members of the SLPP to get on to the roads, they took the Aragalaya as a joke. So we would like to remind them not to go over their limits. Even though they talk highly, they are scared of elections. So we are reminding you again, do not try to do things like bringing back local government members from councils that have been dissolved. Meanwhile, issuing a statement, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa says President Ranil Wickremesinghe is covering behind the achievements of the people's struggle and that the prevailing situation is similar, if not worse, than the time when former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa was in power. He added that the Rajapaksas have hijacked the victory of the people's struggle. The opposition leader adds that the people need to organize themselves peacefully to achieve their goals. Speaking to the media following an event in Mavanalla on Sunday, SJB MP Kabir Hashim expressed the following views on the struggle. As a result of the struggle, the behaviour of the parliament has changed. I can see that many members of the parliament working with responsibility to that. On one hand, we have achieved something. We had the opportunity to pass several bills reforming the demands made during the struggle. On some occasions, we have come together despite our political parties and passed some bills. I consider that a success of the struggle. In truth, through the struggle, if the members of the struggle want to defend the democratic framework, the leadership methods should change. Speaking at the SLPP Bibila Balamandala meeting, MP Namal Rajapaksa said that the SLPP and the Rajapaksas cannot be defeated by a struggle.
Exactly a year ago, when the struggle started, certain decisions should have been taken. If you look at the political party the members of the struggle represented, one faction backed Ranil Wickremesinghe, another faction backed Sajith Premadasa, another faction is supporting partly Champika Ranawaka, and another faction is with the JVP. Students with the Frontline Socialist Party are also with the struggle. All of these people became pawns in the struggle that was operated by a third party. The economy collapsed even more. They are saying that the struggle was able to chase away the Rajapaksas and the SLPP. I state with responsibility that the SLPP and the Rajapaksas can only be defeated through an election. It cannot be done through a struggle. Moreover, we would like to inform them, do not underestimate our patience.
Speaking at the Karandeniya Electorate Council, leader of the Jatika Janabala Vegaya, Anurakumara Disanayaka, made the following remarks on Sunday.
On the 9th of July last year, the people blocked the Katunayake airport. Why was that? They did that to prevent the thieves from fleeing the country. The banner at the Occupy Golface protest site read, "Punish those who stole from the people." The rich and the powerful have a separate law, and the poor and vulnerable have another law. Court cases filed against ministers are withdrawn. Some cases get dropped from courts. This country was ruined and brought to bankruptcy. They emptied the treasury and made it impossible to service our debt. They ruined the production sector of this country. In this country, the hospitals do not have medicine. State education is in disarray. Ranil Wickremesinghe is saying that he will create 2 wards in hospitals. One ward is free and the other is not. Magicians cannot save the country that is bankrupt. Are you under the impression that President Ranil Wickremesinghe will save this nation? Are you thinking of supporting him? No. He came to protect the thieves. He came to protect the Rajapaksa family that were rejected by the people. He came to sell national assets. He will implement the agenda of the superpowers in the world. He will take away our energy independence. He will lose our control over financial markets. He will sell the economic hubs of the country. He will transfer the ownership of profit-making institutions like the Sri Lanka Telecom and Sri Lanka Insurance to multinational companies. That is why Ranil came into power. They want to pass a law in parliament to allow former local government council members to chair Pradeshia Sabhas. What can you do when someone who did not take part in an election claimed the chairmanship or the vice chairmanship of the Karandaniya Pradeshia Sabha? You must surround the building. Therefore, Katagoda can say that in parliament, but we will not allow former councillors to sit there. Have no doubt about that.
හැබැයි පරණ මන්ත්‍රීවරුන්ට වාඩි වෙන්න නම් ඉඩ දෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක ගැන සැකයක් තියාගන්න එපා.
Meanwhile, the ex-Ad Janaraja Peramuna, convening a media briefing today, said that the assault on unarmed protesters was a shameless attack. People who were speaking to the world without any weapons in hand, using only a few words that they wrote on a banner, were attacked by a group of political lackeys. Many people have forgotten this attack. The people responsible for this attack are still members of this government. The current President Ranil Wickremesinghe praised the Aragalaya, but after he came into power, he acted like a political animal and suppressed the youth who were demanding for democracy in the country. As members of the Aragalaya, we must break free from this. If we are to break free from this and challenge them, we must challenge this ruling class. Meanwhile, a protest and an awareness campaign organised by the youth wing of the ex-At Janaraja Peramuna under the theme Let's Stand Up for Economic Justice was held opposite the Fort Railway Station today.
News first with the people.
දින 90න් වැඩ 10ක් රටපුරා ක්‍රියාත්මකයි. දෙහි ඕවිට පාලමක්, මයංගනය ඇඹලවත්ත ගම්මානයට පාලමක්, හේන්ගමුව පානීය ජල ව්‍යාපෘතිය, යාය පහ ගල්ගමුව පානීය ජල ව්‍යාපෘතිය, මහකරබෑව පානීය ජල ව්‍යාපෘතිය, සෙල්ල කතරගම අක්කර 20 පානීය ජල ව්‍යාපෘතිය, ගල්පොත්තේගම ප්‍රාථමික විද්‍යාලයේ පරිගණක විද්‍යාගාර අලුත් වැඩියාව හා සනීපාරක්ෂක පහසුකම්, මන්නාරම මඩුක්කරයි පානීය ජල ව්‍යාපෘතිය, පේරාදෙණිය ශික්ෂණ රෝහලේ දන්ත සෞඛ්‍ය ඒකකය අලුත් වැඩියා කර වෛද්‍ය උපකරණ සැපයීම, විල්ගමුව පළුපිටිය ප්‍රාථමික විද්‍යාලයේ පානීය ජල ව්‍යාපෘතිය, දිනෙන් දින ලියලන මහා වෘක්ෂයක් බඳු ගම්මැද්ද රටපුරා ක්‍රියාත්මකයි.
There are moments in life that change you. Those moments fill the heart and touch the soul. These are the moments we live for. These are the moments we dream of. Dreams of love. Dreams of peace. And these are the dreams that come true. Thank you for dreaming with us. Let's move up.
If not for mangroves, Sri Lanka's landmass would have been reduced to a certain extent due to coastal erosion. Tonight, we look at the efforts taken by activists to protect mangroves. News First's Zulfik Farzan and camera operator Nakluan Varnakulas brings you mangroves, a lifeline for Sri Lanka.
During the 2004 tsunami, in many areas where we had mangroves were protected from waves coming and hitting human beings and their properties. And these areas were saved by the mangroves. Mangroves can act as a living frontline defense. Rather than considering mangroves as wastelands, you can protect mangroves and use them in a sustainable manner for your own survival and also for the protection of your properties. Mangroves provide the first roosting places for migratory birds. When they cross large areas in the ocean, they first rest using mangrove trees, and they rest and they regain their energy and they start their migration again, or they stay in the country during their migratory season. People use mangrove islands to come and do sometimes illegal activities, such as the production of illegal alcohol. When they leave polythene and plastics in mangrove areas, finally they will be added to the ocean, and the animals such as sea turtles will swallow these polythene bags, mistakenly used as a jellyfish, and then finally they will die because they cannot digest polythene and plastics in their digestive system. So we have to make sure that the mangrove areas are kept clean without dumping rubbish or waste such as polythene and plastics.
And in your cricket news update this evening, Sri Lanka undefeatedly won the 2023 ICC Cricket World Cup qualifiers today. Sri Lanka was crowned the champions, beating the Netherlands by 128 runs.
Netherlands won the toss and elected to bowl at the ICC Men's Cricket World Cup qualifiers in Harare. Batting first, Sri Lanka posted 44 runs for the loss of 2 wickets. The innings was received by a third wicket partnership of 72 between Kusal Mendis, who scored 44 runs, and Sahan Arachige, who scored his first ODI half-century today. Batting first, Sri Lanka, scoring 333 runs in 47.5 overs, won the match against Netherlands.
Brilliant glove work from Scott. Here in the final, Scott Edwards leading again.
Yes, a slow raise of the finger in this ICC Men's Cricket World Cup qualifiers 2023. By far the most outstanding bowling lineup.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe has appointed C.D. Wickremaratne as the Inspector General of Police for a further 3 months, subject to the approval of the Constitutional Council. Now, the service extension takes effect today. Minister of Public Security Tiran Alas confirmed the 3-month service extension of Inspector General of Police C.D. Wickremaratne with News First. IGP C.D. Wickremaratne was set to retire on the 23rd of March. But President Ranil Wickremesinghe had previously taken steps to extend his service for 3 months from the 25th of March to the 26th of June. The post of IGP has been left vacant since the 26th of June till date. Accordingly, the President once again appointed C.D. Wickremaratne as the Inspector General of Police for a further 3 months. C.D. Wickremaratne assumed duties as the Inspector General of Police on the 27th of November 2020. The inaugural ceremony of the MBA Intake 22 of the Faculty of Management Studies at the Rajarata University of Sri Lanka was held today.
The ceremony to welcome the new intake for the Masters in Business Administration program of the Faculty of Management Studies at the Rajarata University of Sri Lanka was held at the Faculty Auditorium today. Dr. T.B. Andaravava was the chief guest at the event, and Mr. Ashoka Dias attended the event as the guest of honor.
Accounting, business economics, all these things, useless. Today you don't get financial accounting, you don't have all these hardware, blockchain. The whole world, now we are in an industrial era, a scientific era, a digital era, all these are business. Okay, start thinking again.
First and foremost, may I applaud you all, the batch 22 of MBA Intake, Rajarata University of Sri Lanka, for your decision at a time where the trend is to look at greener pastures away from Sri Lanka, to stay and invest in your higher studies in Sri Lanka. Investing in an MBA and staying in the foreseeable future in Sri Lanka and improving your knowledge and skills will pave the way for you to contribute to make Sri Lanka a better place.
The Vice-Chancellor of the University of Rajarata, Professor Sanjeevani Ginigadara, faculty staff members and students were also present at the event.
The transfer of the Express Pearl case to provide compensation for the maritime disaster caused to the Sea of Sri Lanka to the Singapore International Commercial Court has been agreed to by the shipping company. Now, the Attorney General's department says that the company agreed to this transfer with no conditions attached.
The Singapore court ordered for the documents submitted in the case filed claiming for compensation for the Express Pearl disaster to be handed over to the lawyers of the shipping company. The order was issued when the case was taken up yesterday. Meanwhile, the compensation claim limit ruling issued by a UK court on the Express Pearl case has been temporarily suspended. The Attorney General's department said that the London court has not issued any order against Sri Lanka. Meanwhile, the special team of representatives appointed by the Cabinet of Ministers to negotiate the settlement for the damages caused by the Express Pearl disaster is due to travel to Singapore on the 17th of this month. The team of special representatives will hold discussions for a period of 2 days. Meanwhile, reports have come in of an oil-like substance washing up along the shores of Sarakkua. Our correspondent said that the shores in the area have blackened. Fishermen claim that such substances had been washing up along the shores since a few days. The Marine Environment Protection Authority, or MIPA, said that the samples of the substance that washed up along the shore have been sent for testing. Meanwhile, the National Aquatic Resources Research and Development Agency, or NARA, says that a detailed report on the oil-like substance found in close proximity to the ill-fated Express Pearl ship has been handed over to MIPA. A senior official at NARA said the samples were tested after the presence of such substances were reported last week. He added that the report confirms the presence of oil and plastic substances in the sea water. The senior official also said that further investigations into the incident are ongoing. However, the Ministry of Fisheries said that they are due to receive a detailed report on the situation from NARA next week. Do you remember? It has been 2 years since the Express Pearl ship went up in flames and contaminated the Sea of Sri Lanka. The MV Express Pearl that went up in flames on the 20th of May 2021 sunk in the Sea of Sri Lanka along with 25 tons of nitric acid and 1,486 containers carrying various other chemicals. Do you remember? The people remember well the damage caused to Sri Lanka and her marine resources through the Express Pearl disaster. Millions of plastic nurdles contaminated the sea. Over 200 deceased turtles and many other marine creatures washed up on Sri Lanka's shores. Some marine creatures died at sea, while the others washed up on our shores, gasping for air, and later passed away. The fisheries industry in Sri Lanka came to a grinding halt. The fishing communities suffered immensely. Do you remember? The Express Pearl disaster destroyed the exclusive economic zone of the country in the Sea of Sri Lanka, which is 8 times the size of our landmass. Why can't officials understand the environmental, economic and biological importance of the Sea of Sri Lanka? At a time when we are doing everything we can to secure a $3 billion loan from the IMF, officials followed a lackluster approach in claiming compensation north of $6 billion from the company and insurers of the ill-fated Express Pearl. Why are officials delaying the actions that should be taken to claim compensation for the damage caused to Sri Lanka and our seas?
Parliamentarian Vijay Herat says that he will step down from the Parliamentary Select Committee appointed to probe the reasons for Sri Lanka's bankruptcy. Now, a 14-member Parliamentary Select Committee was recently appointed under the chairmanship of Sri Lanka Podu Jana Peramuna parliamentarian Sagar Karyavasan. This is what Parliamentarian Vijay Herat had to say during an event held in Nettambo today.
9 members out of this 14-member select committee are members of the Podu Jana Peramuna, while 5 members including MP Vijay Herat are from the opposition. This special committee is named as the Select Committee of Parliament, appointed to investigate causes for financial bankruptcy.
The committee that is investigating the causes for the collapse of our Sri Lankan economy, who has been appointed to this from the government. They are Sagar Karyavasan, Mahindanand Aludgamage, Pavitra Wanyarachi. These are members of the committee investigating the collapse of our economy. The biggest joke is that the chairman of this committee is Sagar Karyavasan, who belongs to Basil. Basil Rajapaksa was the finance minister of Sri Lanka. The finance minister is mainly responsible for the collapse of the economy. There are court cases also. Now his successor, Sagar Karyavasan, has been made the chairman of this. Sadly, my name has also been included in this committee. Can the collapse of the economy of Sri Lanka be found with these thieves and these corrupted people? No. Therefore, I am definitely resigning from that committee. I will send a letter next week saying that there is no point in finding out about the collapse of the Sri Lankan economy from this committee. The members of the committee are those responsible for the collapse. I will definitely resign from that committee. We submitted our names before because we were unaware of the people that will be appointed to this committee.
In your international news, several allies of the US have expressed unease at Washington's decision to supply Ukraine with the cluster bombs. On Friday, the US confirmed it was sending the controversial weapons to Ukraine, with US President Joe Biden calling it a very difficult decision. Cluster bombs have been banned by more than 100 countries because of the danger they pose to civilians. They typically release lots of smaller bomblets that can kill indiscriminately by over a wide area. Foreign media reported that the munitions have also caused controversy over their failure. Unexploded bomblets can linger on the ground for years and then indiscriminately detonate. During an interview, US President Joe Biden told foreign media on Friday that he had spoken to allies about the decision, which was part of a military aid package worth $800 million. The president said that it had taken him a while to be convinced to do it, but he had acted because the Ukrainians are running out of ammunition. The decision was quickly criticized by human rights groups, with Amnesty International saying cluster munition pose a grave threat to civilian lives even long after the conflict has ended. US National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan told reporters that the American cluster bombs being sent to Ukraine failed far less frequently than ones already being used by Russia in the conflict. The Western allies of the US said they were opposed to the use of weapons. In other international news, the Syrian government has cancelled the BBC's Vinaigrette edition over what it called biased and misleading reports. Syria's information ministry says that the broadcaster failed to adhere to professional standards.
7 years after the death of Adama Traore, his sister had planned to lead an annual commemorative march north of Paris. But fearful of reigniting recent unrest sparked by the police killing of 17-year-old Nahel M at a traffic stop near Paris, court ruled the chance of public disturbance was too high to allow the march to proceed. Worried about a resurgence of rioting as France celebrates Bastille Day on July 14th, the French Prime Minister told French media that the government would deploy massive means to protect the French during the national holiday. While she said the Interior Minister would give specifics, the Prime Minister announced a ban on the sale of fireworks, which had been used by rioters to target police. Police said the Paris rally had also been banned on the grounds that it could disrupt public order, and a legal case has been opened against Assa Traore for organizing the event.
In some breaking news this evening, 10 people were killed as a bus bound for Kathankudi from Polonnaruwa crashed into a river off a wooden bridge in Manampitia. Now, this was confirmed by the director of the Polonnaruwa hospital. 40 people have also been injured in the incident. Taking a look at that news item once again, 10 people were killed as a bus bound for Kathankudi from Polonnaruwa crashed into a river off a wooden bridge in Manampitia. This was confirmed by the director of the Polonnaruwa hospital, and 40 people have also been injured in the incident. More details on this story is coming up on News First. And with that, we wrap up news on Primetime News for tonight. Details of the stories and much more is on our website, www.newsfirst.lk. Good night and take care.